Aloha nerds, welcome back to another episode of Day Out.
Episode 130 for y'all bitches.
Send it, Ledge. Hurry up.
No thing to do my thing, it's what I
Look, I'm a cowboy.
I caught that crib and bought 2 chains and then I hit
That I borderline look a
and
little
it's
Mexican,
okay
right?
to do your thing,
Oh,
but
yeah.
just don't
Look
do
like-
the most. I put
looking
my
like
face
Chingo
in
Bling.
that old Benz and took
Yeah.
that to the coast.
I look like I grew up
It ain't
in,
no
like, in
thing to
SA.
do my thing, it's
Caldwell.
what I do the
Oh, but
best.
it's close. Pay out.
My mattress, pay
I'll
my
say
taxes,
SA,
then
but
I
yeah,
do
that was
the
pretty
rest.
Parma.
And it's okay to do your thing, but just don't do the least.
So does this go live? You guys all
No, we edited it and stuff.
Oh shit, we could not go live. Oh, the amount of shit
Yeah, we-
that I would have got into.
Every time we go live, I get banned from some of the shit that we say. We got this awesome guest, Cadillac Mat from Cadillac Mat Barbershop.
Yo, 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 yo.
Yeah, see, this, if you had headphones, you'd hear the clap that was going on right there. There's a whole audience clapping for you right there. Yeah,
So if you had headphones, it would have. It's a whole experience. It's
like it's like 4D experience. You know, it's like you could have the podcast or you could hear me smacking my lips while we're talking. You know, so we're good. Anyway, let's get into it. I had a DM from Cadillac Mat. He say, "Let's get on the podcast," and I say, "Okay." And so here we fucking are.
You're not wrong.
No, that's
These
what
are-
happened.
These are chronological facts.
Yes. So let's do the thing. Let's introduce you. You can kind of talk about yourself and we get going, bro.
So I started out in the music industry when I was 14 years old. I was on the battle rap scene. So I
Okay.
used to go around city to city, state to state, doing like kind of like basement style 8 Mile
Yeah.
battle rapping things, right?
Yeah.
When I turned 16, I was pressing mixtapes and going downtown in areas and selling like 500 to 600 CDs a week downtown, hustling with me and my buddies. And we thought to ourselves, man, why, like let's push this, you know, like you're out there doing your battle rap sessions. We would go to keggers and, you know, and I got kind of like known for that as a young kid. And we started pushing the brand and they're like, well, what are we gonna market it as? You know what I mean? So I started out as Cannabis Kid when I was 14 years old.
Okay.
And, I grew up on the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah.
My mother and father both were pretty rough edged. You know what I mean? I started paying rent and stuff at the house at like 15, helping my mom, doing some things. And my dad, he was always wanted to be in the music scene too. So he would always go to like, you know, karaoke bars and sing Elvis and sing
yeah.
Conway Twitty and Merle Haggard and play things like that. And I feel like I kind of like started walking off in his shoes. So like he always wanted to be that big famous country western guy, but hanging out in dive bars and, you know, bouncing for the hi-ho and things like that. I mean, we're going way back in Idaho roots.
Yeah.
Just kind of started off. I asked my dad one day, I'm like, well, what should I name myself? Like my rap name, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what would we brand it? And he goes, well, you should go by Oli.
Okay.
My dad used to drink Olympia by the cases, and he would buy pallets of them,
Yeah.
and he
Pure
would have
hipster.
like poker games and things like that at his house.
Yeah.
And I would go take the stubbies. They were Olympia stubbies.
Yeah, shit.
And I would take them to the trash can. I was like the beer guy because nobody wanted to leave the table or the bar or anything, right?
Yeah.
Well, my mom would come home, and I was like 2 years old, and she'd be like, he smells like booze. He smells like beer. And my dad would be like, well, he was taking all the Lucy's away, you know,
Yeah.
and putting them in the trash. I think he used to drink them, you know?
Yeah.
So he's like, dude, you should go by Oli.
Yeah.
And I ran around with a group of other artists, and we would call ourselves the Ghost Crew.
Okay.
Because we were all white boys.
Yeah.
And so they were like, why don't you go by Oli Ghost?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's different, but it's unique, right?
Yeah.
So I started out on the scene, and I got found by a promoter downtown that was doing shows, big rap shows, Knitting Factory, Quest Arena back then, with Taco Bell Arena now.
Yeah.
And I got put on my first show, and we sold. It was E40, and we sold like 150 tickets to the concert. This promoter couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
He's like, man, I put these local guys on all the time. They have trouble bringing 10 people.
Yeah.
And it just blew up from there. I ended up getting with a group, 33 deep, and we ran with it for a long time. And I ended up branding myself into my own solo career, going by Oli Ghost. I got picked up by a couple different independent labels. I had a tour van with my face on the side of it. I used to travel around state to state doing shows, headlining shows, booking my own tours. I was a booking manager for Little Flip, Mike Jones, Bone Crusher. I mean, these are probably artists from way back in the day, but it really, really paralleled my career into something that I was very, very good at, like networking and branding. And I would go to truck stops and press up shirts and sell them right out of the back of my van.
Fucking hustle, yes.
Yeah, CDs, merch. And so when I would show up to these cities, Montana or Utah or, like in Salt Lake or in Bozeman, Montana, it would trip them out because a lot of these other artists that were coming up in the game didn't have this kind of outlet like I did, like having a van and having merch and having, independent label and stuff. So it was always like my thing to really, really push that narrative, push the level to the highest. And to kind of wrap up the story is I was on tour with Tech Nine and Chris Calico.
Okay.
We were doing, I can't remember, 35 cities. Something like that. I used to be gone all the time, like every
road shit,
like just road warrior type shit. And so I ended up having a crazy like anxiety panic attack, and I never dealt with it until I turned like 28.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Landed me in the hospital. My tour van broke down in Burns, Oregon, and I don't know if you've ever been to Burns, but there's a stoplight, a movie theater, and a hotel.
Yeah.
And I'm in the hotel. I call my wife and I'm like, hey, all bad. Tour van blew up. We're stuck here. The cops just showed up. This is probably not going to end well.
Yeah.
I was doing some illegal activities on the side as well, traveling state to state, because that's kind of how I funded my stuff. So I'm looking around and there's all these dead animals on the wall and like stuffed heads. And I'm just like having this moment in life, like, I got to really figure my life out. Like this is a trip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I spent my last $400 that I had from my tour money on getting my van back to Idaho. My wife came and picked me up, and I was pretty much stuck like Chuck. I didn't know what to do, where to go from here.
I feel that.
His name's Chuck.
His name's Chuck.
Right.
He had to take a
you, homie. I feel it, Chucky.
So the next day I woke up, my car got repoed.
Oh, fuck.
And I didn't even know the car note was due because I was so busy on the road all the time, right? And for the most part, my wife would take care of the bills. I would, bring money home, restock on my CDs, restock on my merch, hit the road again. Well, my dad lived in the Flying H trailer court. Beautiful place, And I pulled up to there and I was going to ask him for a little bit of cash because I had to pay rent and had to try to get my car back.
Yeah.
Well, the barber college was in the same parking lot.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, I'm like, man, what if I was a barber? Like, that'd be kind of a trip. Like, my grandpa was a barber for 55 years.
All your hustle could go right into that, too.
So I was sitting there thinking, and I'm like, well, worst case scenario, I could take my college, they give you grants and loans and things, and I could just take my loan money and go back on the road and fix my tour van. And the transmission blew out on it is what ended up happening. And so I went into barber college, and not very high expectations, just kind of like, well, let's see where the good old yellow brick road leads me, right? Yeah. So I go into there and I fell in love with barbering. My first day in there, I was just stoked. I was like, man, I could really get into this. Like, I can market, I can brand, I can go hand out cards, I can print up shirts, I can do everything that I was doing in music, but to like a better, more like lucrative audience. You know what I'm saying? So
way wider, way broader.
Selling a rap CD in Idaho as a white guy was tough enough.
Versus selling a haircut.
Versus selling a haircut. Yeah. So I thought, man, I might have something going here. I know everybody in town, right? Now I just got to convince them to cut their hair, right? Mm-hmm. So I graduated barber college and I went to this Turkish barbershop, and it was such a trip because it was like such a culture change, you know what I mean? From going to like the rap scene to, you know, hanging out with all these dudes that, you know, are up to no good, to looking around and I'm like, wow, this is a trip. We had the Turkish music going. They had, but it was like a poppin' barbershop, you know? All the kids went there, designs, beard fades, you know, all the stuff that I was really, really trying to get into. And so I started there and I ended up really, really pushing it. I worked 7 days a week, every day. And I kind of just worked my way out of that shop. And they taught me so much about cutting hair, so much about blending, and so much about techniques and designs. So about a year and a half into that, I went down into Garden City and I thought, man, who would have ever thought I would go from, you know, rocking stages all across the country to a barbershop in Garden City, right? Garden City, everybody was like, man, you're going to go down into the ghetto and you're going to do this. And I'm like, I just want to find my roots. You know what I mean? I grew up running the streets of Garden City, running the streets of the North End, riding my bikes all over the place, doing what I had to do, right? And to fast forward to now there's 7 barbershops in Garden City. Garden City is the #1 growing area in Idaho, really, altogether. There's breweries. There's restaurants moving down there. There's Casino Beach moving down there. Yeah, I mean, it's growing and blossomed so much. And I actually had a friend that was telling me, he's like, hey, I know this is going to sound crazy, but you should take your barbershop to Garden City. Yeah. And I'm like, really? Like, that's the spot? And he's like, dude, it's going to blow up.
Yeah. Yeah, whoever that friend is.
So, yeah, and he still comes to the shop, so it's super cool. We always talk about it, and we're like, man, do you remember that 7 years ago that when I told you to come down to Garden City? Well, now I guess it's almost 8 years that it would be this way, you know? Yeah. So that's just kind of a layout of how I got to where I'm at right now. But we could go into depth of stories.
Keep going, bro. Yeah.
Of craziness, you know.
Yeah. Garden City is blowing up. He ain't wrong. They got that new Bardenay down there too.
Yeah. And Bardenay's is well established too. So it just goes to show you that people are finding out that Garden City's kind of the lost gem. You know what I mean?
It's on the fucking river.
Yeah.
There's all cool like
you just have to knock it. You just have to knock most of it. You basically have to gentrify the shit out of it.
If you're not from here, how would you know? If you're moving down here, you'd be like, whoa, inexpensive, on the river, and there's, like you said, there's breweries, all kinds of shit.
The Eat, Play, Create district over there. I just went on a walk on the river. Our place is down on Garden City too. I just went down on the river because they're making that park, so I can't get back there off of 49th.
Right.
Those apartments, bro, are massive, like luxury apartments right up off of
are you talking
Curtis.
about the ones that are the Curtis ones?
Yeah, and then right underneath it is just restaurants, like right on the river.
Yeah. So that's going to be called Casino Beach.
Really?
So they're basically going to form it into like the village on the river.
Yeah.
It's
so
smart.
What's really cool about it is I went to school with the girl that bought all that property, right? And her name's Hannah Ball, and she lived in the trailer park where they sold the trailer park.
That's
and
so
then
wild.
She bought all the property around there, and now it's like one of the most sought after areas in the whole state, really.
Yeah.
And what's crazy about that is me and my wife, she grew up, her dad ran the slaughterhouse on Davis Pack, and now it's like $1 million apartments right there. And we were just thinking the other day, it was like, man, babe, what if we would have bought some of this property a long time ago that was dirt cheap, and now it's worth millions of dollars, and everybody's trying to get in on it. You know what I mean? So to kind of lead off that story, my grandpa was a barber for 55 years on State Street. Now we're on Shinden, and it was not too far from where my grandpa started. And it was cool to grassroot everything and build it from nothing into something, you know.
Where are you at on Shinden?
We're on the corner of 34th and Shinden. We're in the old Garden City tattoo building.
Oh, you're real close.
Right next to the Arcadia that used to be the Sunliner where all the activity went down.
Yeah.
Have you seen a spot? It's like just before that orchard.
I know, right?
After.
No, it's right before.
It's right before. Yeah, it's right when you pass the Ranch Club going downtown. It's on the right hand side.
Okay.
We went in there, and the checkered floor and all this stuff just reminded me of an old school shop. And I was like, man, I really, really like this. I wanna take this and move it into something. You know what I mean? 8 years into it now. It's flowing by, but I love doing it, and I'm gonna die cutting hair. It's something that I have a huge passion for. As far as, you know, the craft and the art, and I feel like it's a trade like anything else. Like if you were an electrician or a plumber or anything like that, barbering is something that I take super serious. I do a lot of community stuff too, so we do like food drives for the homeless and coat drives for kids and hygiene drives where we'll collect a bunch of stuff and just go donate it to the rescue mission. And
that's cool.
One thing my dad told me when I started this is he said, if you support the community, the community is going to support you.
Oh, yeah.
And that really, really stuck with me. So I'm like, every year I go to the Boys and Girls Club, and we do free haircuts for Christmas. And we have a showcase limo or diamond limousine, give limo rides to the kids, jump houses, face painting, food, haircuts, toys. It's like, so some of these kids don't even get Christmas presents from their own family. And it's awesome to have that experience. So now I have kids that come into the barbershop and they're like, man, we went to Cuts for Christmas and we're not going anywhere else. So we earn that. We earn that like respect from these kids to where now they're like, they won't go anywhere else but our barbershop.
Past the customer, they look up to you.
I mean, and it's super cool. So I just did an event for the vets. My dad is a vet, and my grandpa was a vet, and my uncle was a vet, and my father-in-law is a vet. It goes on, but I got nominated as Seven's Hero on TV, and it went national. It went viral, where I got published in a magazine. I got talked about on the Bobby Bones show.
There you go.
A lot of different things, but the main focus of it was overlooking the vets. So something that really chaps my ass is, and this is probably going to be a little off subject, is all these like people, they get help, you know, they're like coming from different countries and coming from different places, and they're, you know, getting free apartments and free food, and you know, you go to Walmart and they got, you know, millions of dollars in food stamps and all this crazy stuff, right?
But we don't help the vets.
But then the veterans are on the corner struggling, and it bugs the hell out of me. So I thought to myself, what can I do as a pillar of the community to try to change that? And so we partnered with the DAV, this disabled veterans, and we were like, we're going to cut their hair. We're going to give them hot shaves. We're going to give them free haircuts, and we're just going to honor their service. You know what I mean? And just say, hey, this is what we're doing. Now, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And try to take the main focus off of helping all these people that don't really have much of a leg here, but people that are actually from here and that have been here and that died for the freedoms or got, you know, or went to serve for our country, what we can do to give back to them. You know what I mean? So it went viral. It went all over the place. I had millions of people hitting me up telling me, hey, we couldn't believe you did that. That's so awesome, you know? And I'm not necessarily like mad that people are getting free help and things like that, but I just really would appreciate, and
if we turn the lens to the people
the reason why we were able to do what we want to do, you know what I mean, for the people that really
reason why we're helping them is because the vets were out there
so
fighting
cool
for
how
that,
those motherfuckers did everything so that we could fucking just keep the door open.
And then we just fucking kept that door open and brought all the immigrants in and just
this
gave
shit
them
is pure
housing.
fucking insanity. It's even more and more insanity when you do have homies that came through and did stuff the correct, super long process, sometimes that it takes to do it, and then someone else just walks in and gets it. You're like,
and like I said, I'm not trying to be like hating on them or anything like that. Like, do what you got to do, right? Because I got tons of friends, you know, that did come here the right way, and they're some of the hardest working people that I've ever met. You know, they are the ones that work the fields, and they are the ones that work this and this and that. But when I see other people like my clients or, you know, old people and grandmas and grandpas getting moved out of their apartment so they can move these families in there, and then these people that are born and raised here are just like, they don't have nowhere to go. They don't have, you know, anything really, resources to help them. It's just kind of rough. So I'll just leave that at that. But moving forward, as far as the shop goes, it's just really, really cool to be able to give back to the community in a way that makes you feel good. You know what I mean? It humbles you. It makes you feel like you're giving back to the people that support you, you know? So I've been able to earn some plaques from the DAV. I earned a couple plaques from the Boise Rescue Mission for helping out doing food drives and coat drives and hygiene drives, diaper drives. I mean, I've done everything and anything I can to really just try to create awareness. You know what I mean? I feel like awareness is where it's at, and if we can show people that we can do it, then hopefully other people will step up and do it too. So
where are you other barbers at? You have the where the fuck you other barbers at?
That's the purest message ever.
Absolutely.
Ain't nobody
he
ever
didn't even
came on
mention
here
a
and said-
fucking haircut style at all.
Yeah.
He mentioned helping people.
Yeah.
Put that into perspective.
And you know, there's probably hundreds of barbers that can do better haircuts than me, and I'm never afraid to admit that. You know, I think that humbleness over cockiness is something that is acquired. It's not something you get. You have to train yourself that way.
Yep.
So a lot of my client retention is of people recognizing that. They're saying, hey, man, this dude's a good dude. He gives back to his community. He helps out other people. He'll do anything and everything he can to try to, you know,
Dude,
push that narrative.
You're a philanthropist, is what
That's
you
what
are.
I've been told. Yeah.
you're not
I didn't even know what that meant, but
it basically means that you're out to help the no.
You
It means you can help the community. You help the community and bring them to fucking together. No,
That's helping.
Yeah.
right. No,
Yeah.
my wife has a nail salon inside the barbershop. So
Yeah.
inside the barbershop, we have 2,600 square feet, and so we do scalp micropigmentation, we do tooth gems, we do teeth whitening, we do braiding, we do dreads, we do ear piercings, we do nails, manicures, pedicures, t-shirt printing, haircuts,
He does it all.
shape.
You just hit his Instagram. You'll see it.
So,
I
yeah,
see them
it-
blinging little tooth diamonds.
yeah. Like, so we opened up so many doors for people, and it's also really cool to be able to provide other spaces for people to come and make money legit and be able to provide for their family too. So I'm really, really appreciative of that, and I'm stoked for myself to be able to provide that.
As long
too.
as you hustled and did shit too, that's probably actually really cool to be able to just to provide somewhere to someone like, yo, you want, get in, come here,
Yeah,
I'll shit,
yeah.
you want, let's do it.
Yeah, and you know, in the last 5 years, there's been probably 15 barbershops that have opened, but people have still stuck with us and still wrote it out with us because we have created that platform and created that foundation to where people can come in and feel comfortable and get, you know, mom and pop and it reminds them, the dads and the grandpas of a shop that they grew up in, you know what I mean? So with the hot shaves and the hot lather and the hot towels and the things that these guys grew up doing and getting, now they bring their kids in and it's a comfortable environment for everybody to come in, you know, and mom can get her tooth gem and her ear pierced or whatever, and dad can get a hot shave and the kids can get a haircut. And so it's a dope spot to have, to be able to provide that for multiple people at one time, you know what
It's
I mean?
also got to feel good. You did a true to the bone hustle, and then you weren't trying to go viral for, like, a lot of people do these things to try to, you know, a lot of people put a camera in front of it to go viral and stuff. You were out to help the community, and your actions were like rewarded for like true passion for your people, basically.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. And what was cool about that too is like, I don't care if there's 10 people in there or 3 people in there. I'm going to try to do the best I can to make sure that they're happy and make sure that they like, you know, what they got, or they're appreciative of what I can give them, you know. And then also other businesses that notice what I'm doing. How can I help? Well, how can I help? Well, hey, why don't you donate some school supplies and I'll take them over to the Boys and Girls Club and we'll give all these kids, you know, like backpacks. And
So every year,
you
it's
know,
just
so
your give back is getting bigger with the help.
it's gotten crazy.
With the help
So
of the community too.
The first year we did Cuts for Christmas, there was 7 kids. This last year that we did Cuts for Christmas, there was 170 kids.
Shit.
So over 7 years of doing it, COVID kind of screwed it up. It screwed up everything, right? Because it was just a shit show of an event, right? But to bring it back was more captivating than anything, because it really showed how much need that these kids really did need, you know what I mean?
Right.
And now they're like, they look forward to it every year. You know, the Boys and Girls Club just messaged me like about 3 days ago, and they were like, hey, we're still on for Cuts for Christmas this year, right? And I'm like, absolutely. Of
course we
and
are.
and I've even have other businesses, surrounding businesses, coming to me now saying, hey, what can we do to help? Well, how can we donate? What can we do to make this bigger and better? And
Shit's
so
infectious.
it's really cool. So this last year we did it. We had Boise State basketball players come out. We had Joe Vandal come out. And so you can just tell from starting it of just doing free haircuts to now being an actual yearly event that everybody wants to be a part of now, whether it's a small construction company donating some gloves and hats to the gift bags, to school supplies, to sponsoring the event, to maybe pay for the jump houses or whatever they can do, because I feel like a lot of small businesses want to help. Yeah. They just don't know how to start, or they're too intimidated by going, well, we're going to do a food drive, but what if nobody donates food? And it's like, well, let me take the ease off of you. Why don't you just donate to this and we'll make it even bigger? You know what I mean? That's so cool. It's gotten really, really cool. And it's something I look forward to every year. So this year, actually, we're doubling down and we're doing 2 limousines. We're doing 2 jump houses. We're adding 4 more face painters. We're doing double gift bags. We're doing catering. And now it's getting to the point where it's so big that we have to do it in the actual gymnasium of the Boys and Girls Club. So, and it started out at my barbershop, and now it's growing so big that we have to do it at the gym. And their gym is as big as it's huge. You know what I mean? So
you get any like radio stations to run this? Because
so the radio stations actually report afterwards, and they'll talk about like the event, and they'll say, man, this kid, you know, these guys did this and this and this and this and that. So I don't necessarily do it to, like, I didn't do the veterans haircuts to have the news show up.
Gotcha. Right.
The news found out about it and showed up. I didn't do the cuts for Christmas to have it promoted on the radio. I did the cuts for Christmas for the kids, and then to create awareness for the people, and then the radio picked it up. So like you were touching base on, it's not something that I do to try to create, you know, fame or viral sensation. You know, I'm 40 years old now, so social media to me is more of an avenue to promote my business. I'm not up to TikTok and Instagram and things like that. I don't know how to create something that will go viral. I just feel like if you do the work and you put in something that you have genuine care for, and you're doing it for a good cause, then people will attach to that. You know what I mean? So
an IRL follow, bro.
Doing the right thing can do some cool shit.
Absolutely.
And how you're doing too, like, it's well, then just link up with us. I like the idea of, like, fuck it, let's get together and we'll just make it bigger. Like, we're already doing things. Like,
that's why I was asking about the radio station. We just get Mateo to help get it bigger. My boy Mateo's Kiss FM's director. We could just they could start pitching it 2 weeks before to get help. Like more
most definitely. And what's really cool is I got all my clients. They own small businesses, and I just would hit them up when they're in the chair. Yeah. And they can't go nowhere. You know what I mean? So I'm like cutting their hair, and I'm like, hey,
sounds good, right?
I need 400 notebooks. You know what I mean? They're like, well, I'm like, well, get out your checkbook. You know what I mean? Let's make it out. You can write it off. Yeah. It's tax write off anyway. 100%. It's a great way for you to help. Yep. And they're like, okay, well, I'll do that. And then my next guy would come in, you know, he owns a pool company. And I'm like, hey, funny you're here. I need your help with this. Yeah. I need you to donate, you know, 200 pairs of gloves and 200 pairs of, well, I don't know what to do. I'm like, here, log on to this and go to Amazon, click on this link and order 200 pairs. And it spiraled from there, just kept going and going and going. And then we would think like, well, what else should we do? You know, how else should we make it bigger? And how else would, you know, get a limousine? Like, whoa, limousines are $700, you know? So? And my buddy comes in, he owns a heating and air conditioning. I'm like, guess what, bud? You're going to donate to the limousine. And they're like, well, I don't know what to do, you know? And I'm like, I already got it. Yeah. And so that's been a really, really cool thing. And coming to find out about this podcast, you know, I was looking around on Instagram one day, and I'm like, how could I link up with somebody that's actually doing this podcast thing, and they're promoting their stuff on the internet, and they're promoting their stuff on Instagram, and they live this life every day of doing these podcasts and promoting, you know, different things and different avenues and stuff. I want to go on there and tell my story to where maybe I could create other avenues of networking and branding to where we could start making it a bigger umbrella and create something that now your audience and my audience sees, because
pull out the checkbook.
Right, right. You look like you have a lot of money.
Tell me what you need.
But that's not really what it's about. It's honestly getting these businesses to step up and help their community.
Absolutely.
And then they feel good about it, and then they can maybe do something bigger and better every year, or we can find somebody else to do it. It's not really about that. So it was cool to be invited out on this podcast. It's cool to link up with you guys. I like finding people that I've never met, that I've never sat down with, that I've never just tell them my story and tell them kind of how I started and where I am now, and to create more avenues of stuff to network. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's my biggest thing.
That's why after this podcast, I'm hitting up Mateo, even though you're like, that's not what I'm here for.
Right.
My thing is get it going so he has a story to start running for like a month before, so you can get that avenue bigger. Just like it's not to make you viral or anything. It's to get more people to help.
Well, and
like that, more help is never bad.
No,
right?
and the thing that's cool about it is my followers and my people, local people, do support me, and I'm not just saying that to try to toot my own horn, but they know what I do and they know how I move and they know what I'm capable of doing, and so at the end of the day, like, I bet you this podcast with this episode that we do here will have good views and it will have good reach, and I'll share it, and my supporters will share it, and the people that follow me will share it, and this is one of the first. I've only done one other podcast. It was called the 12 Round Podcast, and it was just one of my good buddies that just was like, "Hey, I'd like you to get on there and tell your story." And it ended up having more views and more engagement than any of the other podcasts that he did on there.
That's what happens when you have a good guest too. I see it all the time. We've done 130 episodes. We've had some like TikTok famous kids and stuff like that. Anytime you have a good audience with a good message, I get more views on my end. And then I can tell where all of it comes from on like your followers, basically, because especially how you started and told your whole story right off the bat.
Yeah,
that's all a lot of people don't know how to podcast really. So
grab
we
kind of spin.
Yeah, like, we run it in a way that probably they don't want it to be ran, I guess. And in this situation, it's a good listen right through the back because you're telling your whole story right on the front end of it. All of the reels that come out of that is just going to be.
Oh, you can hit your whole cardio listening to just like we're getting his whole lowdown, and we're warm.
Yeah,
we're moving on.
We're ready.
We're good.
And I think it's gonna be good too. And then we get every time we have someone like you, one of your audience is gonna want to. Someone from your audience that has a business is gonna want to come on the podcast too, and it's just kind of like a ripple effect, which is much like your hustle.
I'm all about it.
Yeah, your hustling is the same ripple effect. What's crazy is the butterfly effect of everything that you had to do in order to be where you're at right now. You had to.
It's a mind fuck.
Yeah, you had to sell every CD you ever did to break down in Burns, Oregon.
You had to break down in Burns. You had to break down there.
You had to break down your van, break down mentally, and then just have this epiphany while you're helping your dad see the barber college to even get to where the community's being helped the way
you were with the dead animals. You were at that truck stop, huh? One of those stops, like one of those.
Dude, it was like that show. What's it called? Where it's like all these like zombies, and it was so bad. So the cops pulled up in front of my tour van, and I'm sweating bullets. I'm like, oh man, we're gonna get searched. We're all going to jail. And this is bad. They said, Holy Ghost, right? Holy Ghost, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just a Christian rapper out here, right? trying to do what I had to do, and the dogs in the back just barking, right? And I'm like, oh man, they're gonna get him out right now. You know what I mean? This is bad. So I had the cop take me to the payphone, the only gas station in the whole town. Yeah. And there's a movie theater where all the kids hang out. That's like downtown. Yeah. And they were waving. I mean, they thought I was like Snoop Dogg or something, in town, right? Because I had my van.
And you were on tour.
Right. And I'm like, man, this is really weird. Small town annex, you know what I mean? They're like, they can clearly tell I don't belong here, and they can clearly tell that I'm not from here. Yeah. And they were just like, hey, hi, how you doing? And I'm like, oh, I just need to call my wife, And my buddy's calling me on the other line, and he's like, well, they're around the van, and and I'm like, just leave them alone, do their thing. And the cops ended up like taking pictures in front of the van, right? Not even knowing what was entailed inside there, right? And then they all drove off, and everything was cool, and it was smooth, and I ended up getting back, and then that whole chaos broke out with me getting my car repoed and the rent being due. And
I just love they're all taking pictures. You're just like, Jesus.
But that story, could have went.
Call my wife.
Yeah. I'm like, I need a ride, And I was in the cop car, and the dogs in the back just going crazy, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, oh man, I hope this, I'm like, oh, so how's your day going, and blah blah blah,
just small talking the shit out of the cop.
Yeah, it was crazy, and it was
Dog's just barking in the back, like, well, he's got the devil in him.
all three
so I can't-
all three cops of the whole town showed up, so I'm like, oh man, this isn't gonna go well.
You're like, can I pray for you guys?
But yeah. They were just like, so yeah, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm on tour. We're doing a revival tour, and like not to know that they didn't know what was going on, and yeah. So
We're in.
basically just bullshitting them the whole time, you know what I mean? And thankfully it worked out the way it did, because I definitely would not be on this podcast doing what we're doing now. So.
Yeah. You'd be telling a whole different story. You'd be getting out and just telling the whole story.
Right. It's cool. It's authentic.
Yeah.
And I feel like coming out and telling my story, some of my family members don't even know this. And so it's cool to be able to tell my story now, put it all on the table, kind of let everybody know where I come from, how I came up in the game, to being where I'm at now. I'm so thankful, and to be dead honest with you, all bullshit aside, barbering saved my life. It really, really did. My wife gets a lot of credit for that, because she kind of put me on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
But barbering did save my life. It really, really did. It provided me a legitimate income. It provided me something that I can do that is not going to get me in trouble. It provided income for my family. It provided a roof over my head for me and my kids.
It provided support for the community.
Something that I could never, if you were to ask me 15 years ago, what are you going to be doing?
Yeah.
I'm going to be on tour with Tech Nine, and I'm going to be traveling the country doing shows and this and this and that.
Yeah.
I used to tour manage for DJ Unk. Rest in peace to DJ Unk. He passed away, I think, it started this year, right before this starting of this year. And I was on the road with him one time, and he told me, he goes, man, this music industry will either make you or break you.
Yeah.
And it broke him.
Yeah.
And he died from a heart attack.
Fuck.
And his main thing is he was like, this road life is so hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Traveling all the time, your diet's just crap, you know what I mean? Drinking, smoking every day.
Yep.
You do that for so long, it mentally takes a toll on you, and it physically takes a toll on you, you know what I mean? And some of these guys that are artists, they get control of that, they start going to the gym in the morning. They don't do they more or less take it as a business.
Yeah.
But me growing up doing it, it was just a lifelong party. Yeah. It was, you know what I mean? Where are we going? When are we getting hammered? And how long is it going to take before we can get hammered? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I had a really cool experience in 2019. I got to cut Jelly Roll and Struggle Jennings' hair.
Oh, there you go.
And they came to the barber shop, and they were on tour, and I just messaged them, DM'd them, and I was like, hey, man, I come from the music industry. I know you guys from the music industry. You might not remember me because you guys do, meet so many people all the time. And to sit down with Jelly Roll and cut his hair and have a good, legitimate man-to-man conversation with him just about life was way cooler than me being like an artist, being like, yo, Jelly Roll, check out my new mixtape. And I mean, how many times has he heard that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And to sit there with him and have a conversation was one of my coolest experiences I've ever got to do being a barber. And they gave us passes to the show that night, and they gave us a shout out on stage. And then he came out with "Son of a Sinner" and blew up, and now he won't even answer the phone. So
that was right before, I got goosebumps right there.
Yeah,
that was. I remember. I think that was when they played in Emmett. He was going to play in a bar in Emmett.
So this was a year before. He was on tour with Yellow Wolf.
Okay.
He's on tour with Yellow Wolf. Him and Struggle Jennings were. And I actually cut Struggle Jennings' hair twice. And then when he came back the second time, I cut his hair.
Yeah.
But when they did the Stoney's Roadhouse out in Emmett, he wouldn't even answer the phone, because that was right when he started getting his really big blow up. You know what I mean?
And he's in Emmett going, what the fuck am I playing here
Exactly.
for?
And they told him it was Boise, right? And he was like, thank you, Boise, Idaho, for coming out, And then I'm looking around. I'm like, dude, he has no clue he's in Emmett, Idaho. And that was one of the most coolest experiences to see Jelly Roll in, honestly, because it was like his element. Redneck, outlawish, out in the middle of nowhere.
There couldn't be more than, what was it, like 300-400 people at that? I don't know how big that venue is.
Stoney's Roadhouse, there was over 7,000 people there.
Oh, shit.
So they had a venue capacity of 5,000.
That's what, that was my next question.
And they pushed the walls back, and it actually shut down Stoney's Roadhouse. Because the fire chief and the chief of police were like, that's the biggest, craziest show we've ever had in Idaho.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're just going to do B-list artists now because you guys, we about got shut down and, you know, and we can't do this anymore. And I was like, man, what a sick show, right? I mean, it was like,
that was like probably his last
oh, dude, people were getting drug out of there. Like fights were going off left and right. It was like a classic Jelly Roll show. I mean,
Jelly Roll had been trying for like, he'd been in the industry for like 15 years prior in Nashville.
He was a rapper,
helping everyone out from there.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy,
so,
man.
so there's been some cool experiences. I've got to cut hair on some artists that I've actually got to sit down with and have conversations with.
That's
rather than approaching them being like, hey, put me on, you know what I mean? Yeah, I want to be on your label or I want this and that. You know, Jerry Robinson, he's on Strange Music. He recently just came through on his tour. He was on tour with Ritz and I got to cut his hair and sit down with him and chop it up. So
not Ritz though. They don't touch his hair.
No. Ritz wasn't having it. Yeah, and it was crazy because on the show the power went out and they canceled the show. So I would have never even have got to meet Jerry if I wouldn't have hit him up and offered to cut his hair and clean him up before the show because we ended up going to the show and then it ended up getting canceled anyway. And then the last time Ritz came here, just this last time, they got snowed out in Montana and his show got canceled again. So it's like it's kind of a trip the way that everything falls in together, you know, in a line. Yeah. But at the same time, it's cooler doing what I'm doing now than to try to do it as like an artist perspective.
Isn't it also weird though that you were kind of like you're like gravitating towards that crew constantly?
It was.
You were on tour with the Strange Music, and then you'd be cutting all their hair and shit, like without doing music. Like it's almost like you're meant to mingle with them every once in a while, I guess.
I'm a firm, so I'm not. I just barely started getting really into like spiritual stuff and like religious stuff. Not necessarily a certain thing, but you know, just praying that things work out and praying that stuff, you know, will go the way that I hope it goes. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason,
100%.
Whether it's good or bad.
Yep.
You know, mental health issues, all the way from, you know, losing my house to losing my cars to being put in places that I normally wouldn't be put in, you know, and being able to overcome and adapt. I think that's a huge thing for men.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of men talk about that. You know, they more or less bottle it, you know, hold it inside.
Yeah.
He's inside my fucking head. Like the whole time I was just like trying to I was like, dude, as a man, that's like a real big thing to like hit your, oh fuck. When you were talking about like, and they're just like, when you had that moment looking all dead, and I was just like, what am I going to do with my life? Like that moment as a man, like it's very key.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I mean, I guess there's some people that do, if you don't ever have to deal with that, fucking blessed. Bless you. But that would,
yeah. And the crazy part about it is a lot of dudes take their life.
Yeah.
And that's something to me, and even kids these days, it's just like they get bullied or they get pressured or they get, you know, whatever it is. And I've even had clients being impacted from it that have lost their child, and I could just only imagine what it would be like to go through that, you know. Right. And so then I reach out to them because they become your friends after a while, and you're like, well, how can I help?
Yeah.
So we recently approached Boise High because Boise High's had 3 or 4 kids take their life in just 2 years.
Jesus.
And it's all because of, you know, head injuries or sports, you know, and then they get hurt and then they get a situation happens and then they're in their head like, oh, I can never play football again or this and this and that. And then they end up doing something really stupid. So me and a family that they lost their child to something similar to that too, which is a kid that I used to cut his hair. We're creating suicide awareness walls at high schools, and these kids are going to be able to go out to these walls and write down their thoughts or paint something or do something that will get them out of their thought of thinking of doing something stupid. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the time I feel like they make that choice, but they make the choice too quick.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like the idea of writing it down, getting it out of your head and physically writing it.
Exactly. And then once they do it, there's no turning back from it. You know what I mean? Like it's done deal. And it's like, wow, you just really, really hurt a lot of people, not only yourself, but now people that really cared about you that didn't know that was going on and would have given their shirt off their back to try to help you. You know what I mean? And so like I said, man, having this platform to be able to be a barbershop and a pillar of the community and try to, do anything I can to help people, I'm willing to do it. You know what I mean? And if I can, just be a little part of something and create something bigger out of it, then I'm all for it. I don't really want the credit for it. I don't really want any, like, pat on the back or any kind of thing like that. But when you see stuff like that, man, it just rips me apart. I'm just like, dude, how could that kid have done that? You know what I mean? Like, there's been so many times where I've been down and out, and I feel like that's like an easy way out. But if they were to have somebody that were to help them and put them through those times, then they would have been more appreciative of like, hey, man, I really appreciate you really doing that, because if not, I would have went and swallowed the shotgun, or I would have went and done something really stupid,
Then they can experience the rest of their story that they're supposed to have.
And, feel grateful that there was people there, and feel and see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? Like, men's mental health is something that nobody talks about. It's a bottled up thing.
I just gay and you can't.
Right. And you're a big pussy, and you're this or you're that. Swallow your pride. And
we can say, fuck, I'm fucked up right now. This sucks right now. Okay, what's going on? This. All right. Well, it does suck, and that does sound shitty. Well, we probably can work through it, right? Yeah. Like, it's not permanent, right? Whatever that is, like, if we know what is permanent is just turning off the switch. That's permanent. But if we can figure out some stuff.
Well, and what's crazy too is I have, when I started talking to my clients about it, they're like, man, I've never, I've gone through similar stuff, but I don't know who to talk to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, being a barber, I'm kind of like a psychologist, right? People will sit down for 30 minutes and they'll tell me like what's up with their life, and I'm like, hey. So I got with my cousin. Well, he's like a cousin figure to me. I grew up with him my whole life, and we created a men's group.
There you go.
And we've been inviting all these new guys and new people, new clients, new people that, and I'm just like, hey, come check this out. You know what I mean? You don't have to stay. You don't have to say anything. But just come in for like 15, 20 minutes and just listen.
Yeah.
Because there's so many other people out there just like you that are going through the exact same thing, but they're too afraid to say something. You know what I mean? And
I think no one else is doing it.
It's getting big. It's getting really big. And a lot of people now, even guys that I would be like, you want to go? And they're like, yeah, I'd really like to go. And I'm like, dude, come on. The people that you never would have thought that would need something like that, successful people and business owners and guys that you're like, you would look up to, that you're like, man, this guy's really successful. He's rich. He's got, this and that. And it's like, there's no other bigger statement than more money, more problems. Yeah. You know what I mean? When absolutely. When I heard that phrase, I'm like, wow, that means a lot in so many different ways. You know what I mean? Like guys that, are killing it and making tons of money, but their mental health is just jacked. You know what I mean? And
no time to stop and think about that themselves, or even have like a relationship with just like turning it off and go and do something else.
It's a byproduct of hustle culture, man.
It really is. And entrepreneurship for sure. And like the last 5 years, not diving too deep into the craziness of it, but ever since COVID, a lot of people's mental health has just gone down the drain because they don't know what to think. They don't know what to see, what's right or wrong, because, the propaganda or the news or
everything's
I
fake.
turned the news off in 2020.
Same.
I turned it off.
Yep.
Me and my wife started living our lives, and whatever you believe in, that's fine. But what about just helping people out? You know what I mean? Like, if someone needs help with something, then that's cool. But if they're going to sit and scream about something, or they're going to say, oh, well, you got to have a mask on, or you got to have this on, or you got to have that on. Well, hold up a minute. Let's talk about the root of the problem.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If you feel that certain way, I respect that. That's cool. Go home and sit in your house, whatever you want to do. That's fine. But what about the people that do need help? And what about the people that don't know what to do? And what about the people that don't have a clue about any of this stuff because they're so caught up in the moment that they end up saying something stupid, or losing their spouse or losing their friends over saying something that they don't really have any idea what they're talking about, but they saw it on the news, or they saw it in this. So I don't really know anything about the news as far as that goes. I just try to be an outlet to let people talk and let people say what they need to say, and then try to provide them a solution, or try to provide them some kind of, a foundation to be like, hey, man, let's chat about this.
Everybody looks globally nowadays and never fine tunes into local community, like you're saying,
Like, just turn it off and tune in to just, yo, what's up?
Yep.
Like literally just that. Like
Yeah.
we don't have to. Cool. We need something great. If we're not, like we can just talk, right? We can just be people and just link up.
And
right?
like a popular subject lately, you know, they're like, well, what about the tariffs? This and that. They're gonna the whole world's going down. And I'm like, hold on a minute. First off, that doesn't, you know, if it does affect you, then I'm sorry about that. But let's talk about why that you think this, or let's talk about why you feel this way, or let's talk about.
They never know why they feel that way about it.
Yeah, and they're like, well, screw this guy or screw that guy and this and that, and you're like, okay, I get that part, but
it's so surface level.
If it doesn't affect you or it does affect you, then let's figure out the root of that problem and let's figure out how we can help it and let's get through this together. Because I guarantee you, in a couple weeks, you're going to be like, man, I'm glad that Matt actually sat there and talked with me and chatted with me a little bit. Now I'm kind of cooled off and I'm kind of chilling and I'm doing my thing, because that. If I wasn't there to talk to them about that, who knows what kind of fire would have got lit under their ass, and they would have went and, you know, started screaming on social media or, you know, whatever the case is, and it would have went out of control, you know. So one thing on my barbershop, at the barbershop, I have on my door, and it's the biggest sign I have. It says no politics.
Let's go, buddy.
So it does get brought up in the shop, but at the same time, I feel like it creates a space that people can come to where they do feel comfortable, and whatever they believe in, you know what I mean? If they believe there's dolphins in Meridian, or they believe that, you know, this and this and that, they can come in and they can take that load off their chest, and they can leave it in the car, and they can come in and talk about life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Their problems they're having.
It's the real deal thing.
Yeah.
You know, the old lady screaming at them all day, or their kids, or, you know, their job, or their this or their that. So that's what's also really, really cool about the barbershop, rounding that whole conversation out is
absolutely
just having a place where dudes can come be dudes. You know what I mean? And they can let that off, and they can let that steam off, and we can tell some jokes, dude, or we can have a cold beer together and sit there and chat for 20, 30 minutes and throw a hot towel on their face. And then when they get up, they're like,
so
wow,
refreshed.
I don't know what just happened, but that was nice.
So
you know
reset
what I mean?
button, bro. That's what happens.
Oh yeah, you make them handsome out the door.
They
Just
feel good. They
Shit.
fucking.
And I don't know how many barbers you've ever had on this podcast, and I don't really. I've been through some of your guys' stuff, and I've watched some of your guys' podcasts, and they're entertaining. They have good and different subjects, you know. But at the same time, I feel like all together as a conglomerate, it's something that a lot of people are not talking about. So it's cool to be able to come on here and tell my side and tell my part, and also hear like testimonies from other people or hear information from other people, you know. And I know it's supposed to be fun and it's supposed to be joking and it's supposed to be this and it's supposed to be that.
It's supposed to be whatever the hell we. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the cool part. When we tell people, get on here, I'm like, dude, this is whatever you
I like
need
this
it to
one.
be. And what
Purpose driven.
Jokingly said that I don't want to hype like when he said, oh yeah, he's like, we got the Cadillac Mat coming on. I was like, do you know who that is? And he's like, no. I'm like, you don't know Holy Ghost? And he's like, that's Holy Ghost. I'm like, yeah, you know. I'm like,
I think I remember you from back. I used to DJ.
like, I'm like, yeah, I was a kid.
I used to go by
fucking know
Dangerous
shit.
Birds out here, bro. I was a DJ for a long time for a lot of these rappers.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think
yeah.
I remember your name. So
I was like, oh, that's so cool. Oh my god, this will be a fun one because I knew you.
I like this one because it's purpose driven.
That's
bro.
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
like,
it's
I'm like,
very
I knew
informative.
you did stuff, so it was like, this will be fun, as opposed to people getting on and not saying it's a bad way, but it's definitely a world of getting my brand out, getting my stuff out, getting my things out, which is cool. You should do that. Get you out. But then you come on here with the fucking, no. So check this out.
It's all about
Do
community.
this, and look at all these things. And I'm like, oh.
This podcast is beautiful,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
is basically what we're trying to say.
No, and I totally respect that. You know what I mean? I've never sat and had a conversation with you guys. I don't know you guys from anybody else, but at the same time, the more people can get together and have a good conversation and create some awareness and talk about stuff that other people may not know about, or talk about things that people may know about but they don't really know the answers to, is super cool. So
It's super
the
cool.
other thing that I also noticed too with the music, going from music, so every day I get somebody, they're like, you think about getting back into music? And I'm like, you know, that time came and gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm 40 years old now. I'm not trying to be that guy trying to make a big break at 40. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be on the road all the time. I love being a dad. I love being a family man.
Yep.
I like doing stuff differently.
Yeah.
Calm, chill, kick back. My anxiety when I was on the road and doing music was through the roof. I didn't even have time to think about having anxiety
You were just
because I
in
was just
anxiety
boom,
the
go,
whole
go,
time,
go,
though.
go, go, go,
Yeah.
go, 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 go.
Yeah.
So I think that's how my anxiety attack came upon is like my body reached that max and it was just like, dude, and just blew the roof off.
Yep.
And then I didn't know how to handle it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So my buddies or my wife, they'll tell me now, they're like, well, you're kind of boring.
Good.
And I'm like, well, I don't want to go get hammered every weekend.
Yeah.
I don't want to stumble around the dive bars. I don't want to, do all this stuff. I already did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I already partied on a Tuesday at a dive bar till 2 a.m. Like
Yeah.
I've already did it all.
Yeah.
If I could reach out to people and I could be an outlet and I can help these kids and I can help these men and I can help these women and children and families and stuff get through what they're getting through, then maybe they'll help me get through what I need to get through. You know what I mean? Or what I'm going through,
Yeah. Go back to the men's group though, like for everybody, like if they want to join it, like when is it? Where is it?
So we call it the men's circle.
Okay.
It's at a church in Meridian, and you guys can DM me if you're interested in it. I'll send you all the information, the address, the times. We do it every Friday,
Okay.
7 to 9. We pray a little bit for each other, just as men, and just say a little something, just kind of lift up everybody's spirits and stuff. Because a lot of time people come in there, they're just kind of like on their last leg, and they're just worked their ass off all week, and they're just stressed out, And then we just bring up topics like accountability or determination or dedication or entrepreneurship, and we talk about those subjects. But then we also take the last half an hour to 45 minutes and we just go, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
What are you going through? Like, if it's good, then tell us about the good.
Yeah.
Inspire these other guys. Or tell us about the bad. You know what I mean? Like, what's up? You know what I mean? What are you going through?
Yeah.
And when you leave there, it's like, it's all confidential.
Yeah.
So we don't talk about anything in the men's group outside the men's group.
Yeah.
So if you're going through a certain thing, like Johnny can't come up to you and be like, "Oh, Dave, is your wife still cheating on you?" Like we don't put each other on blast like that. It's all confidential. It's kind of like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, kind of a deal,
Fight Club.
And if you are caught doing that and people call you out on that and they say that, then we just don't invite you back. You know what I mean? I feel like it should be a sanctuary for dudes to come in and just kind of lay their problems and their stuff on the table, and everybody can kind of figure out opportunities or ways to help the other people. You know what I mean? So there's not a lot of that in this world right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just creating a division.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to create something that we can all come together as a community and give an outlet for dudes to be able to get out there and talk about what they have to do, or talk about what they can do to help what they got going on. So
Something about Friday at 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. It vets out probably a lot of the turds too. It's like a really
and
key
like
time to be over there. Like,
Friday, normally Friday nights are going to party.
that's what I'm saying.
So
it's
it takes your mind off that.
Yeah.
You're like, hey man, hold up a minute.
Yeah.
Like come over here and let's chat a little bit before
Yeah.
you go do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know so many homies and stuff that are still doing the same thing that they were doing 25 years ago. And I'm a firm believer that you are who you surround yourself with. A lot of guys are like, well, I can't catch a break, and it's like, well, quit hanging out with the junkie drug addicts and the drunks and stuff and try to do something different. They're like, well, that's boring. And it's like, well, if you're not going to change yourself, then nobody's going to change it for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it might be weird. It might be uncomfortable. But that's also part of change.
Vulnerability is,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like my wife and my friends tell me, they're like, well, you're boring. And I'm like, no, I'm chilling.
Fucking having fun
I've
being
done
boring.
it all. Yeah, like I go home on Saturdays and watch UFC fights
you
and
go.
chill with my kids and go out to dinner and do stuff that I would normally do, but not like associating with partying all the time or drinking all the time. I gave up drinking about 7 years ago, and at first I was like all about it, and then that little itch comes back and they're like, well, you might be able to go party a little bit, you this and that. And there's been some times, because no man's perfect, right? Like you make mistakes. And I've gone out and I've got hammered, and then the next day I'm like, dude, that was
This
so
is why I don't.
stupid,
Yeah, this
bro.
is why
Like,
I don't do it.
and not to mention, as you get older, the hangovers, dude, brutal.
100%.
I mean, I'm like, man, I'd rather get kicked in the nuts by a horse. Like this is just like rough. 2
days long,
and running a business and trying to
stay in character,
dude, stay
basically.
stable. You're just like, wow, I can't believe that I just went and got hammered. Like, I don't think I'm doing that anymore. You know what I mean? And my buddies will come in and they'll be like, oh man, what a rough weekend. And I'm like, I don't miss that. You know what I mean? So
not at all. Because not only that, your weekend's fucking gone. You don't remember the weekend.
No. It's
you
such
didn't
a
get
waste.
shit done.
Nothing.
It's Monday.
Yeah, Sunday at 9:30 p.m. comes quick, and you're like, son of a bitch.
You're like,
I gotta
oh.
close my eyes in 6 hours. Gotta be back at work. Okay,
Well, and
well.
I still got homies that are like, "Oh, you coming to the concert tonight?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not." And they're like, "Well, why?"
It's
whatever's in town or whoever's in town, and I'm like, I just don't find any drive to do that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'm on a whole different page now, a whole different wavelength, a whole different vibe. Like, just really trying to be a better person. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's weird to me because I was always that guy that was the life of the party. Bringing everything to the party and creating the party and bringing telling my homies like, let's go. Let's do this. Let's do that. And nowadays, I'm just to the point where I'm like, man, what can I do with my kids or my wife or my family to have a good weekend and like create something positive and do something cool that I normally wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just chilling. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just kicking
pulling
back
out the fucking cast iron and slapping some meat on that motherfucker. Dog.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Barbecues are one of my favorite. You know what I mean? And I've got some cool opportunities too to cut some like Boise State basketball players' hair. Like I was the guy that cut off all Andrew Meadows' hair when he changed his hair. You know what I mean? And it was cooler to be able to have a conversation with him in the barbershop because I found that he had a lot of the same kind of things going on that I did. You know what I mean? And nobody would ever known that, or maybe he would have never talked about that or said anything or made awareness about that. But I kind of broke him down and took that wall down that he had to put up and got into there to talk to him. And now we have great conversations all the time. I text him all the time about after games, hey man, tough loss. Keep your head up. Yeah. Keep pushing. You're killing
Goes
it.
to show though,
awesome.
if you talk about, the vulnerable shit with a dude, you create a connection that's so deep, so much more deep than like party connection.
I dig it. I dig it. Like that, it's like, it's one of my favorite things about being a barber, honestly, is being able to create that connection. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
One thing else I was going to say too is making those connections, like even being on here, like you guys didn't have to do this. You guys could have been like, oh, well, we're full, or, hey, we don't have any bookings till October, or, for you guys to open the door and be like, hey man, we'd love to have you. Not even knowing really anything, what was going to happen or how, the interview was going to go or the podcast.
You literally we've never really interacted, I don't think. And you just knocked on my door and here we are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
I really
appreciate
do.
you.
So I want to thank you guys, for letting me come out and let me tell my story and, just sitting and listening. If there's ever any times, you guys want to come to the shop and come in and get a cut and come chill, like you're always more than welcome. So that's the least I could do.
Yeah.
Right. That's the least I could do for you guys opening the door for me.
Also, we can run through that thing with some cameras too. So that's the cool thing about us is we said we don't film for people anymore. We don't go actively looking for people to film. We film who we want to film. So we can roll through with some cameras and make a dope edit as well. Pretty fast. So.
Yeah. And I think it would be cool to even do some like some ideas for different podcasts, like to maybe do remote podcasts, to where you do go to like a barbershop and do a podcast, or you go to
next time we go to your barbershop and do the podcast.
Right.
This shit can be packed up just like that.
Yeah. And whatever it creates, to just spark a flame of interest, to create opportunities. You know what I'm saying? Like absolutely. I'm all about that. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to come on here too, is just to be able to make some new connections, meet some new people, get out of my element a little bit. That's been something I've really been working on lately is to make myself uncomfortable to create more opportunities.
It's kind of like you said before, when you accidentally get to the spot where you're like, oh fuck, what am I going to do? If you actively putting yourself in these little micro versions of that, there's just nothing but growth the whole time. And honestly, you were the most guest forward on the podcast we've had. We've had 130 episodes. So we've had a handful of guests. Most people need us to lead the way. And if I could have every guest act like you, that would be great. Because we are unhinged when we're together. Like that's what we do,
Right.
But we don't need. We've had people that we shouldn't be unhinged with.
I mean, I give her the tickets so I don't have to talk to the people. So I'm just.
Well, I've watched a couple podcasts and I've noticed that too. Like I'm like, man, these dudes are wild.
Yeah.
But it's cool. You know what I mean? That's the stuff that people are like, if how boring would the world be if everybody was the same?
That's the whole
100%.
thing.
You know what I
is
mean?
like, man, I get it trying to be, but I'm like, man.
Yeah, we sell shit all day. It's fun to fucking. I mean, also we're on a sales floor, so we're just wild at all times. Like
Too many
it's
people
just us.
worry about like the
Image.
what people worry about them. I'm like, I get that, and I get that, like maybe rubbing people the wrong way, but man, I really can't live my life worrying about like, oh shit, what do they think about me? Oh shit, what do I look okay? Is everything okay?
Right. Yeah. I know. I came in here and I'm like, all right, well, it's like showing up to a rave, and everybody's got their shirt over their head and there's one shoe missing and their wife beater on.
Well,
and,
there's stickers.
Yeah.
oh, you pasties.
Pasties.
But what else was cool about it too is it's different. You know what I mean? Like my wife will always tell me sometimes like, oh, I can't believe you said that, or oh, I can't believe you did that. And I'm like, babe, I don't care what people think about me. If I'm out there
100%.
doing what I like to do and I'm doing something positive and I'm doing something that I like and I'm doing something that maybe helps somebody else, or I'm doing something like, well, you changed your style since you were a rapper. You don't do this and you don't do that. And I'm like, babe, I'm not that person no more. You know what I mean? Like Oli Ghost is dead.
He's
you know
gone.
what I mean?
Yeah.
He's been buried. He's gone. He's done. It's an over deal. It's a done deal, But also at the same time, stepping out of that element and getting yourself in an uncomfortable position to find your true self is a trip.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Like it's a huge trip. And like as a kid, I'm like, I never knew, like, your teacher would always say, well, what do you want to be when you grow up, Timmy? Well, I want to be a firefighter and I want to be, this and this and that. Like, if you would have told me years ago that I'm going to be a barber and I'm going to be Seven's hero and I'm going to be out there helping the community, and so I would have been like, dude, pipe dream. You know what I mean? Like, that's never going to happen. You know what I mean? So why I do what I do and how I do what I do and things like that, I don't know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like I said earlier, everything happens for a reason. Yeah. So why I was put here, or what I'm doing, or why I'm doing it, who knows? But at the end of the day, it's all creating growth, and it's creating opportunities, and it's creating networking, and it's creating change. And I've been kind of digging it. You know what I mean?
It seems like you're having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your accolades, I know you don't do it for the accolades, but they came through, bro.
Yeah.
Just you changing and doing what you do, like you said.
I talked to my dad yesterday.
Going.
He called me on the phone, and we talk all the time. And he's like, "Son, I'm so proud of you. You make me like I'm beaming. Like I beam with confidence. Like when people ask me about you." And I'm like, I didn't really know how to respond to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm
no
like,
shit.
well, thanks. Like.
Right.
But
you
at the
think about
same
your
time, I've never been told that kind of stuff. You know what I
Right.
mean? I was always the guy that was like,
No, neither has Charlie either.
yeah, right.
You don't get told none of that
and
shit.
and I was always the guy, in trouble all the time, or getting busted all the time, or doing evil shit. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like not good stuff. You know what I mean? And not being somebody that people would look up to. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I was a rapper, and I was on the big shows, and I was doing that, and everybody would be like, "Oh, I'd love to be that person.
Like-
and I'd love to be that." And it's like, no. In the end, if they knew the real part of it, they would be like, "Man, I don't know if I want to do that." You know what I mean? All the crap that comes with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The drugs and the women and the drinking and me being trying to be so faithful to I mean, I was with my wife. I've been with my wife for 20 years.
Shit.
And I give her 110% credit for making me the man I am today. I really do. And I even told my dad that yesterday. And I said, I had to give my wife a lot of credit for this. You know what I mean? To stick with me through all these times. I know homies that got girls that that. Oof, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're like,
same.
they're either a smoke show, or they're like, they're running around on them doing whatever, when they're gone, or doing this crazy shit. And my wife stuck with me 110% the whole time. You know what I mean?
dope.
So there was no way that I could ever go behind her back, or go do this, or go do that, or anything, because I always
Such
knew.
a guilty conscience.
Yeah,
if you will.
yeah. And then there was times where it would get like that, and that's why I quit drinking. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, I don't want to be. That's like that evil shit. You know what I mean? It's trying to get you off your character. It's trying to get you to do something stupid. It's trying to push you to get in trouble, or, doing that stuff. So that's where that kind of like spiritual side started coming into me too. Never growing up believing in God, or believing in religion, or believing in that stuff. And I would always pray to my grandpa. Yeah. And I'd be like, hey, Gramps, help me out here. I'm struggling. You know what I mean? And nowadays, there's times, like getting older, where things go south, or, you're going through a certain situation. I mean, like I'm just kind of the guy that will always put it out there. You know what I mean? Like we lived in me and my wife raised our kids in the same house for 15 years.
Yeah.
2.5 months ago, my landlord came to my house, knocked on the door, put a note on my door, and kicked us out of the house and sold our house.
Fucking.
Right?
Yeah.
My wife don't even want me to tell you.
No
that.
haircuts for you,
Right.
Gary.
Right.
Fucker.
My wife, why do you tell people that? Why? That's so embarrassing. Well, no, it's not. It's real life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's not embarrassing.
Why be afraid to tell people your real life? You know what I mean? Why not be afraid to just be a real person?
That's
You know
probably
what
one
I
of the
mean?
best things about my sales floor. The most embarrassing shit happened, or some of the crazy shit happened. I kicked that door open. I'm like, guess what, motherfuckers?
I promise
Here's what's
you,
happening.
people have either done it or have done something more embarrassing to where like, ha 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 ha. Holy shit, I did that last weekend. What
and then the
fuck?
more I talk about it and the more I was telling my clients, like my wife would get mad and then my clients would be like, dude, that happened to me 5 years ago. That was horrible. You know what I mean? And or to talk to people about certain life situations and they're like, oh, dude, I went through that. And you know what was really, really crazy about it is when they always say you find your real friends when you're gonna move, right? Because you're like always you're like, hey man, hit me up if you ever need help with anything, you know. And then you move,
and
right?
some fucking-
15 years of stuff, right? I mean, I had a pool in the backyard, a trampoline. I 15 years,
That's
right?
a lot,
You need
yeah.
some people you need some hands.
Dude, more people showed up than I could count.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
like-
the great end of this. Oh, okay.
And it was just like, man, I really do have a support system, and
Yeah.
I really do have people that do care about me and my personal life and my stuff. Because you never know, you know what I mean? Like when I was the rap star running around, everybody just like, oh, can I get a backstage pass? Can I get a free ticket? Can
But
I get
that's
this?
it.
Can I get that?
Yeah.
But then when I needed something, they were like nowhere to be found, and that was really truly a blessing. And I feel like now, things are going to work out and things are going to go good and go smooth. But if it wasn't for all these trials and tribulations that you go through, you wouldn't be in the position you're in today. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's super cool. And even till this day, like at nighttime, I'll sit and just kind of like talk with myself and be like, hey, you know, everything's going to work out. Everything's going to be cool. Everything's going to be copacetic. Like you're going through this to get to this, you know, like these are just the hurts.
I love being a man and doing this shit at night. It's fine, dog. It's fine.
Right.
This shit's gonna work out tomorrow. Watch, you get so much tomorrow. Fuck
Even
this
if I
shit.
want to wear a scarf on my head, it's all going to be fine, you know?
Fuck free state, bro. I'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah, and I'm the same way, bro. Like people are always like, well, you know, like, oh, Cadillac Mat's never been afraid to say something. You know what I mean? Whether it's right or wrong, he'll say it. You know what I mean? And it's gotten me into some bad situations, but it's also created the person I am today. And so
It's fun being you.
at the end of the day, like I said, individualism and characteristics about yourself is what makes you. And I think a lot of people are just too afraid to do that.
Super
you know?
afraid. Everyone's worried about, like, I get it. Don't wild out. Don't cause problems for everybody. If you're just being you and you're being positive, if anyone's got a problem with it, they're fucking weird, man. Just do you. I promise you, everyone's going to go home jealous in their head that, man, I wish I had the confidence like Matt did. I wish I didn't think about that. Then just don't, dude. Just promise you, as long as you're not being fucking crazy, just do you. People will respond so much better to just you being you. Way more. It's just
Well,
so
and
much
then you
genuine.
refine the people that mean something to you.
Yeah,
too,
you get
'cause
around the people
You don't
that
get all
matter.
the fake fucking bullshit anymore after that. You
Yeah,
just have to-
and it's crazy because I'll talk to these young kids. Like I've been cutting some of these kids' hair since they were teenagers in high school, and now they're young men with kids and like jobs and stuff. And they're like, man, I really appreciate you like giving me life advice and telling me, you know, about this and this and that. And you know, one of the main things I tell them is I'm like, hey, when you know, right now you have 20 friends.
Right.
But when you start to change and you start to do better stuff for you and your family and your kids and stuff, you're going to look around and all those homies are going to be gone.
Literally all of them.
You know, and right now I'm living in that exact moment. Like
Scary.
a lot of my friends are like, dude, all my homies are gone. They don't want to kick it and they don't want this. And I'm like, it's because you're changing and you're becoming a better person, and they're not.
Yeah.
So you
They
just
can't
got to
fuck with
adapt
it.
to that.
You can't fuck with it because you're not gonna fuck with it because they're doing.
Also, kicking it all the fucking time, dog. Get out of here, bro.
Yeah,
There's some
just
structured
bums. Yeah.
There's some structured times to hang
I
out with
got
people.
him to come over to my house. What? It's been 2 years.
Yeah,
Probably plus.
I went over to just have dinner with him,
the whole time he's over there.
ready to go.
So it took me 33 minutes to get out here. You do this
Dog.
every day? I'm
Yeah,
like, oh my
shit.
God, boo. I'm like, you're tripping out right now. I gotta be home. I'm like, I get it. You gotta be home. Home is safe. Home has your things. People they can come to me if they want to hang out. They
Yeah.
come to
See,
my
we're hanging out
house.
right now. We're doing
Yeah.
something with it. We're doing something with it.
No, I agree.
That's like once a week, you know?
It's hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, to wrap everything up, like I said, I just appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
I hope it was you reaching out.
I hope it was a well informed, podcast. I hope other people can get information from it that might help them.
Yeah.
My door is always open. I have an open door policy at my barbershop. Kids come in there. You can hang out. You can talk, chill. We got the sports going. We got music going. We got the haircuts going. Everybody's in there chilling, creating a good vibe. And just have a spot where the youth and stuff can come in and, maybe talk about stuff that they're going through that they couldn't talk about with their other homies. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So,
Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Jesus.
We'll definitely be in there. We'll check it out. And honestly, this is very community driven, very informative.
Yeah,
it's going to be a very good podcast. And
yeah, and if you guys have any questions or, wrap it up or whatever, I'm more than willing to answer any other questions. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just an open person, open book kind of deal.
I would have tried to just guide you into telling the story that you told the whole time, and you told it.
I don't know.
So normally I'm like, so who, what, when, where, why, and you nailed all of it. So
Yeah.
Awesome, bro. Well, I appreciate it. Episode 130, Cadillac Mat.
Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good week.
Already fried from the get-go.
Yeah, that was great.
Alligators look like get-go. Everything I do,
Fucking Chuck. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I hate that. I'm gonna totally text you here in 2 hours and be like, I'm not gonna say it, but
Best